Hi, this is Lou from Lou's Antiques and Collectibles, and we buy and sell things for our two antique booths in the two antique malls. One being Plaza Antiques in Lincoln Park, Michigan, and the other one is Maumee Antique Mall in Maumee, Ohio. And I'm showing you, so these are some of the thrift stores that I go to, like when I'm going back and forth to some of the antique malls. So I'm showing you my thrifting on the way or on the way back. So that one was the first one that I typically go to. It was the Salvation Army in Toledo, Ohio. It's off of Manhattan, if you're familiar with the area. And this store can be amazing. Sometimes you find the best stuff. Sometimes you find nothing. You just never know. There's lots of tchotchkes and statues and little porcelain items throughout. And, oh, that was a nice Winnie the Pooh. I don't know why I didn't buy that. Sometimes you watch these videos and you think, what was I thinking? I should have bought that. It must have been too much money. I typically have to triple my prices, so I'm looking for a bit of a bargain here so I can make a profit on my two antique booths. So usually I go around and I look at the smalls first and the kitchenware and decor. And I also always take a look at the toys and the clothing, of course, too. Even for myself, I found some pretty nice things here. This Salvation Army, the prices are very reasonable. I've not had the same experiences with other Salvation Armies, but with this one, I think they're probably the most reasonable one I've been to in a long time. So I always like going here. And the staff are super nice and friendly and always very helpful. And, oh, that was a nice little dog statue. That's another thing I probably should have bought, but maybe it was a little bit too much money. Like I said, I like to triple things. And there's a Hummel Bell. That's kind of nice. But I ended up passing on that one, too. So if I pass on items, usually it's because the price is a little too high for me to triple, or they have some damage on them. So they have all their items here coded by color, which I like that, because I do the same thing in my booths. All those little dogs were super cute. That was another thing I didn't pick up. I don't know what I was thinking this day. I must have been in a mood not wanting to buy a lot of stuff, because there's a lot of good stuff that I should have picked up on, especially those little dogs, because those are always really good sellers, those little animals. People always buy dogs and cats and frogs and all those types of things. And here's all the white section here and the clear glass. And oftentimes there's a lot of depression glass, but usually it's in a clear pattern and people don't realize that's what it is. And here's their electronic shelves, which looks pretty empty today. So there's quite a few of us that frequent this store, so the shelves do get empty at times. Lots of food processors and things like that. I don't usually deal with electronic stuff, very rarely. And here's a nice clock. It's kind of a ship wheel, but looks a little bit too modern for me. Still a nice clock. Oh, and it is missing a spindle there too. And I always check in their linens, because sometimes they have some tablecloths and quilts and things like that. So I always check that area just to see what they have. And their furniture, I buy very small furniture, but not the big stuff too much anymore. That was a really cute chair. And I also look in the dresses. I'm looking for vintage clothes. And I have found quite a bit of clothing with their tags on it, too, in this store. So I find stuff for myself, too, in this store. And, of course, the purses. And what's nice about this store is they have a sale every week. So they have everything's color coordinated by when it came in. Two of the colors are always half off, and then one of the colors is 99 cents. So there's always good deals. So you got to pay attention to the colors when you go into this store. So I usually find quite a few old purses in the store. I do quite well with that. And we're searching for them right now. And here is some record albums and some old pictures. And this is one of the stores I go to, usually on the way to or on the way back from Maumee Antique Mall. And then I'll be going here to another store. Ooh, I like that horse picture. That was kind of cool. That was neat. So now we're going to head to our next store that I go to quite often. And this one is This is a step store, and this I usually go to when I'm heading up to Lincoln Park, Michigan. And this store I've done videos on before because they have really good deals here. And it's another one of those stores, sometimes you walk in and you find a ton of things, and sometimes you find nothing. Oh, that was a nice old purse there. The price was right, too, on that one. I like that one. So, a lot of times they, if you go to the back of the store, they have the new carts that come out. Of course, I'm always checking there. I'm always checking in the purses. And, of course, the clothing and toys. So here we are kind of searching for purses. Oh, and look at that. It's got a nice little old one in the inside, too. Oh, yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I got that one. For some reason, they had tons of these prom dresses this season, and I'm not sure if that came from a store or if it came from some kind of a donation thing, but they had a ton of dresses for teenage girls or even for weddings. Of course, I have to look at the jewelry. This store has quite a bit of jewelry in it. So they have necklace racks. And that was an old one there, some old beads. Ooh, that elephant was interesting. Like I said, sometimes you watch these tapes later and you're like, oh, I missed that. I should have seen that. But when you're going through these stores, you go through so fast that you don't often see everything. It's almost like you need to go through it 2 or 3 times to see everything. So I kind of just look on the side of the necklaces to see if anything stands out, like some natural gems or possibly some amber or just really pretty old vintage jewelry. That was nice. That was a pretty piece. I like the stone on that one. And this is the same as the last store. Typically, if I pass on something, it's because the price was not right for me to turn it over. Although it would be a good bargain for you to buy for yourself, I'm looking for stuff to resell. Or there may be some damage to the item, maybe a small chip or something. So if you're buying stuff for yourself, these stores are really good to find reasonable stuff. That's a really cute bracelet. Was $3. Not a bad price, but I don't think I could get 9 out of that, so I'm going to pass. I probably could maybe get 6, but I like to triple my prices to make a profit. Now, other people do it different ways, but for me, that always works. I figure 1/3 of it's for the price of the item, 1/3 of it's for my rent, and 1/3 is profit. So that's how I typically do things. And of course, I have to look in the dresses to see if there's any vintage clothing or anything just cool for myself. And looks like there was lots of dresses there today. And I typically buy the vintage dresses because back in the day when people wore dresses, they didn't wear them every day, so they're often not wore out and they're in really good shape. So that's where I typically find more vintage clothing, is in the dresses. And of course, we're back into the purses, and they have quite a big purse selection here. Look at this cute little poodle purse. It's newer, but that's really cute. Really cute for a little girl or a little boy or whoever wanted to carry it. Cute idea. And here's a nice looking purse that I liked for myself. And always looking for those Vera Bradleys. And that was a nice one there. $5. That was not a bad price. I probably should have picked up on that one. I don't know why I did. And of course, here's the games and toy section. Looking for old games. When you buy games, you have to be really careful to make sure all the parts are there. Otherwise, they're not worth much. And here's the back area of the store. This is typically where they bring the new items. So I'm always going around here and seeing what kind of things that they have. As you can see, it's a big variety of housewares and decorating things and even gym equipment. You never know what you're going to find. Picture frames. And some vases. And lots of dishware. And there's quite a few shoes there in the back. And here's the type of objects I usually look for, is these little small items to put in the booth. Oh, a cute little Minnie Mouse. She was nice. Must have been something wrong with her. And I've been dabbling a bit in hats too. Sometimes I have bought in hats. Of course, the vintage ones, but also the ball caps if they're very collectible type of sayings on them. I'll buy them too if they're really reasonable or if they're new. Like there's one with the tags on it. But if it's like a company that's not real popular or some more of a local company, I typically pass on those. Those don't sell very well. The sports teams and the different characters, comic characters, tend to sell the best. And of course the women's hats. Now on the top of the racks they have all these bag lot things, and you kind of got to go through them all to look and see if there's anything neat in there. There's sometimes toys in there. I found purses in there and everything. You just got to at least go through them briefly and see kind of what objects are in there. Right now they got a lot of yarn. So this is one of the stores I go to, and we're going to head to another store that I typically go to on the way to both malls. And this one is Damascus House, and we've done a video on this one also. This is in Monroe, Michigan. And you never know with this one either. They're only open 3 days a week, and their hours are really limited. I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so you gotta make sure you go those days. So sometimes I'm not in town those days, so it makes it a little tougher. But if I'm in town going to one place or another, I will always stop by here and see what they have. They bring things out every day. You never know what you're gonna get here. They have lots of decor like the other stores and houseware items. And here's some paperweights. Those are super nice. And it's the same scenario here. If I don't pick it up, it's probably because the price was not maybe right for me. There might have been a little chip or a little bit of damage on it. So I don't show all my finds at the ends of these videos, but I did get quite a few items. And there's some nice little ceramic shoes. So oftentimes I'm not just going to the antique malls, but I'm hitting things, especially on the way. With the price of gas and whatnot, you definitely want to make a trip out of it when you go to these different places, and you want to hit as many things as you can on the way there or on the way back. These metal things, they're not real valuable, but they're super old. And I have bought them and I've sold a few, but they're a little bit tough for me to sell. But boy, they're neat. One of these days they're going to get really popular because they're very cool looking. And there was a whole bunch of it there that day. And there looks like some lanterns and stuff up there, little ones. And there's some candle items. And lots of little ceramics. Ooh, this was a nice old vase. $5. That would have been okay if it would have had a name on the bottom. And I believe it had a little chip on the top. But the shape was really good. It looked very 40-ish. And of course they have old pictures and lamps in there. And I always have to look through those items. There's some nice old frames. It's a good place to come if you need to just buy something for the frame. You could always take the picture out that's in it and put your own picture in there. And there's some more lamps. And these little birdhouses were super cute. I ended up picking up one of these. They were pretty reasonable too. They kind of look good with some of the decor I have, even though they're a bit of a modern one. This silver lamp here, if I had a spot in my house, I'd have bought this. This was so cool. It was a little bit too much money to make a profit on, but it was just a really neat looking modern lamp. But I end up passing on that. I'm heading over to the silverware and the dishware. And I have bought some small sets of dishes in here because they were so reasonable on their prices. And they were quite old. I think they were 40s, 50s type dishware. And here's some nice salt and pepper shakers. And I did pick up those. That pattern was actually my grandmother's pattern. So I'm a little bit attracted to that. And here's some nice old pots. And I'm always looking for McCoy in Hull. And that was a nice Hull one there, but it had a big chip on it. It was so balmy. That would have been a great piece to get. That was a nice old one too. But there was some damage on those pots, so they were super nice and super old. I like that one. I think I ended up taking that one anyways. And this, I believe, is for wine bottles. This one was a neat one too. And that is signed. I wasn't familiar with that name, but I know it's an older name because of the shape of the pot. And these have become quite popular, so always pick those up when you see them. This was a cute little dresser. Like I said, I don't do much with furniture, but now and then I do small furniture. So I kind of look at the small tables and things like that. Of course, I check out the clothing to see if there's any vintage clothing in there. And purses. And there was a nice army uniform in there, which was pretty cool. They actually have a section of vintage clothes in this particular store. They're a little bit pricier than the other items, but they did have it separated out, so it was very easy to see. But it has to be something that somebody would like. It could be old, but they might not care for it. And then there's another store that we go to on the way to the antique mall. And this last store we're going to be going into is the Goodwill in Dundee, Michigan. And sometimes we go this way on the way to either Maumee or on the way home from our Maumee Antique Mall. It's a cute little Goodwill. It's not real big, but they have lots of goodies in here. So we're going to go in there and show you what kind of stuff we get there. And I usually walk out of this store with something. It's very rare when I do not have something in my hand from this store. So this is always a really good store. It's a little bit out of the way for me, so I don't go to it every week. I would like to. But like I said, it's a little out of the way, so I don't hit it as much as I often want to. But they have really nice smalls in there. And really nice donations, and their prices are very reasonable. Super nice staff there also. That was really cute. The little colonial people there. And I always search in this one area because that's the typical stuff that I buy. And they have some holiday items in there, and they even have some old dolls from Mexico. And here's another nice lady figurine, a girl figurine. Very pretty. She was a good buy. I believe I picked up on that one. Sometimes I'll walk around the whole place and go back and pick out what I want, unless it's really a reasonable price, and you better grab it the first time around if that's the case. But sometimes I have to think about it a little bit. Just say, do I really want that? Or is that going to go with my decor at the mall? Dolls are a really good deal at times, but they don't sell for me very well, so I don't always buy dolls. If they're real unusual or if there's something really neat about them, I might buy them. But otherwise, I'm typically pass on dolls. Then they have a section here with all kinds of wood items and different frames and pictures. And their end caps always have neat stuff. There's a nice vintage purse there. A little red one. I actually just bought a red one similar to that with a lucite handle. Can you imagine? That was really cool. But this one's pretty neat too. I like that. Especially red. You don't always see bright red purses. That looks really cute in my booth. And they have lots of little wallets and stuff here. I'm looking for Vera Bradley or anything really sparkly or something really old. And here's some new linens. It's a nice tablecloth. Like a sea scene. And sometimes I find stuff like that to sell, but typically I buy stuff like that for myself. Now they have a great toy section, so you always got to check that area out. Being I'm dabbling in toys these days, it's still kind of difficult for me to figure out what to buy that's going to sell, so I'm just buying a variety and kind of seeing how it goes and trying to get it very reasonable so I can sell it very reasonable. There was an old set of Tinker Toys there. On the inside, that wasn't Tinker Toys. It was magnetic letters. Well, that was a fooler. You always got to check the inside of these things. And they had lots of nice stuffed animals and bag lots of toys. But sometimes you get some pretty good things in there. I know I had a friend of mine that got a really old cast iron car there. He was pretty happy about that one day. But that was a big lot of toys there. And here's some more dishware. And always got to check those end caps. You never know what they're going to have on those. Today it was just cards and things like that, but you never know. Here's some more glassware, some vases. And here's a nice, that's a Depression piece right there. But it's the clear glass. They don't sell as good. Sometimes I still buy them. There's a nice piece of Waterford waffle there. That's a Depression glass pattern. And of course they have lots of pictures in the back. Always got to check those out. And the clothing. Checking for those vintage items, and sometimes for some new dresses or something nice for myself. I like to look at that. Actually, I like the bottom of that. It's really pretty. Super pretty dress. And we go through all the clothes. There's an old wedding dress, it looks like, in there. Wedding dresses don't sell for me very good. I've had a couple of them, but they take a long time to sell. So I don't typically buy them unless they're really, really reasonable. That was a wild outfit. So this is Dundee, Goodwill. This is another one of our stops that we hit all the time. And this is Lou from Lou's Antiques saying goodbye. And we'll see you again. Bye, everybody.